All right, welcome to Doc Talk with Dr. Boothby of OSMI. He's back joining us today. How does it, sir?
Hey, man! It's great to be back. Love chatting with you guys, and hopefully can give you all a little bit of insight today.
Yeah, so today actually we were talking about some drafted players and we were talking about the position of offensive tackle. And we figured here in Cowboys Nation that Dallas may be looking at that offensive tackle position because long term, because Tyron Smith and his injury concerns. Listen, when he plays, he's fantastic, but he's been dealing with a lot of injuries. Last year, it was the bone spur.
Mhm.
In layman's terms, can you explain what he was dealing with, and is that something that could have a long term effect on his ability?
Sure. So bone spurs are a little bit tricky. They tend to be more degenerative in nature. So high level athletes they've been playing this sport for a long time, and the actual bone can create bumps and spurring where there's areas of degeneration and kind of extra wear and tear. So most of the time, bone spurs are not a huge deal. But if the spur develops in an area where it's rubbing on another structure that gives the player pain or weakness or something like that, then it can be a bigger deal. And sometimes, even requires surgery in order to fix that, to remove the spur and kind of remove whatever's rubbing there. So some of it depends on how big it is, the location, and what it's pushing on in essence. But again, there's ways around bone spurs. It's not like you just have to live with it. There's treatment options for it, both non-surgical options in terms of giving people shots and anti-inflammatory medicines, and different sort of treatments that way, as well as surgical options, if required down the road.
Is it something that, you know, where he'll have all this time in the off season for his body to catch up, including the bone spurs? That's something that you really don't worry about since you had that time to heal. Let's say in August where he starts to ramp things back up again.
Well, again, where I think any athlete, whether it be at the high school, collegiate, or professional level, really uses that off season as a chance to address some of these issues. And so I think that when these sort of things pop up during the regular season, sometimes because it's the regular season, you're just stuck kind of putting your head down and playing through it.
Yeah.
Whereas in the off season, you get a chance to get some definitive treatment, really kind of see how you're doing, and at a baseline fitness level, which for these guys is really high. I mean, they're working out year round, and pushing their bodies, more than you and I might throughout the year, not just as the season cranks up. But use this as a tester to say, hey, listen, with the treatments I've had and with the training staff that I'm involved with, can I really give it 100% when time comes for training camp to roll around, and we're going to get after it. And this is a beautiful time to kind of make sure that they can be at the level they need to be at, come when the season gets kicked off.
We've got Dr. Boothby joining us on the rear with Steele, A to Z Sports Dallas, talking about two of the more prominent Cowboys players here. We did Tyron Smith. Now I want to bring up Demarcus Lawrence. Now he started off his career as a hurt guy with a broken foot. As a rookie, missed about most of the season. Then he found a groove, right? He got into a groove where he played 16 games of 4 straight years. That streak ended last year when he broke his foot again. Me
Right.
personally, as a fan, Doc, I was a little worried long term looking at Demarcus Lawrence because that's the second broken foot, and I believe it was his fifth metatarsal.
Yep. Yeah, fifth metatarsal fractures are common, especially in our athletic patients, and the reason is just there's a tremendous amount of force that goes through that area of the foot, and these guys are big guys. They're athletic, they're explosive, and so it's really just a physics thing. The bony part of the foot in that area gets exposed to these substantial forces, and they can have an injury and a fifth metatarsal fracture. Um, you know, Often these fifth metatarsal fractures in our athletes will get fixed surgically. and the bone is realigned, reinforced with a screw, and those heal over time, and then really there's very low risk at that point of this sort of injury slowing them down, in the future. Um, Sometimes, if those injuries are treated non-operatively, there can be problems where people, again, have excess stress in that area, and can have a re-injury or a flare-up in that spot. But again, most of the time, base of the fifth metatarsal fractures are treated surgically in our athletic type population.
Well, you made me feel a little better because because I was going to follow up with, since this is the second time that this has happened, is it something that is easily susceptible to happen again, or are these things more like freak injuries? Because he came back and he played really well. Didn't seem like the foot was bothering him at all.
Yeah. They tend to be more, freak injuries, and again, it's not that these guys aren't maybe more susceptible to this than you and I, because
Right.
they're really big guys, put a lot of force on it, and put a lot of energy through that foot and that bone. Um, but they tend to be more one-offs where it happens and then they get healed up from it and come back. And because this is a common injury, the fact that it's happened twice, I always tell patients common things happen commonly, and so it's more just a matter of bad luck at that point than it is, the bone itself has a weakness to it, or is has a specific problem in that area.
Got a bonus one for you here. So we talked to you the first time a few months ago. Was about Michael Gallup and his ACL injury.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
told my fans, I said, listen to what Doc is saying here. He said it would have to be a perfect situation for him to be back in 7 months. And then Stephen
Right.
Jones came out and said, hey, he's not going to be available for the first 2 to 3 games, which may be the entire month. But
Yeah.
Jabril Cox tore his ACL as well. He did that in October or November. I think it was October, actually. How
Right.
about Jabril Cox? An October ACL injury. Can we see him in September more than we would be able to see Michael Gallup?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really fortuitous time frame in terms of when it happened, when he had the reconstruction, and when the season gets started. So I mean, I think that's a more reasonable kind of run out here. Now, you know, unfortunately, with ACL injuries, they happen a lot, and so there's kind of been this mentality amongst the viewing public, the fans, that hey, they get their ACL fixed, and it's very kind of rudimentary. They just follow this program and this program and this program, and then they're 100% at this time. There's a tremendous amount of variables, both surgically and on the rehab side, that go into this. It's not just it's easy to say, oh, you get your ACL surgery and then I get you back on this date, but they've got to meet the milestones. They've got to do the therapy. They've got to meet the milestones. They've got to not have some of the setbacks that can happen, that are kind of some of the normal course with this. So I think it's important just to treat each individual injury individually, right?
Right.
Like you can't just, not a blanket statement for ACLs in general. But I think that what you're describing, from an October injury to being ready for play the next year, is much more realistic. And again, obviously with the 7 months before that, that would have to be pretty dang perfect. And as is proof be told, it's a little bit aggressive.
Like they say, man, listen to your doctors. Dr. Michael Boothby with us here on A to Z Sports Dallas. Let them know where they can find out more about OSMI if you can.
Yeah. So OSMI is here in Clear Fork in Fort Worth, and we're a full service sports medicine group. Do surgical intervention, we do therapy, but we also treat general orthopedic patients. So I would love to see anybody, if they have an ache or a pain or something like that they need to get looked at or checked out. Come find us. Our number here is 817-529-1900. Or you can find us online at osmifw.com.
Listen, Doc, if I got any issues, I know where to go.
Sounds good, man. Sounds
Thank
good.
you for coming on and giving us some good word about some of these injury concerns we have.
All right. Take care, y'all. Have a great day.
Have a good one.